Welcome to Verde's Folding Chair, a podcast about making space at the table for Black, women, independent writers, and marginalized people. Verde Chair is about making space for our voices, existence, and lived experiences. Zora Neale Hurston said, "If you're silent about your pain, they'll kill you and say you enjoyed it." This podcast is the opposite of being silent. Come on and bring your folding chairs and pull up at the table. I promise to make space for you, Rainbow Peeps Friends. The first segment of Verde's Folding Chair will always and forever be dedicated to the Black woman, by a Black woman, but intended for everyone. Why? The most disrespected person in America is the Black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the Black woman. The most neglected person in America is the Black woman. Malcolm X. Black women are a reflection of God. Black women are beautiful. Black women are talented. Black women are creative. Black women are determined. Black women are powerful and dangerous. Black women deserve better. Rainbow Peeps and Friends, today it is my absolute pleasure to welcome and make space at the table for author L.M Bennett. Author of over 10 books of fiction, short stories, and novellas, including appearing in the literary journal Midnight Indigo and the anthology Women Under Scrutiny. Bennett's podcast, Cherry Hibiscus Tea, has her guests spilling all the juicy details while she listens at the window like Rose from 227. Fiance and cat mom to Queen Bootsy Collins and Nipsey Treverius Hustle, Esquire. Their latest book, Bespoke, is now available on Amazon. Welcome to the table, L.M Bennett. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. I am so excited to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for the invite. I love how you put in my cat's middle names in there too, because Black cats all have middle names. All of them do.
Yeah, when I was like, is that Treverius? I
Nipsey
know him.
Treverius Hustle, and Bootsy's middle name is Beyonce because she's a diva.
You know what? I would have put that in there too if I had known. Cute cat too.
Thank you.
All right, so let's jump right into the deep end, shall we? Okay. What does it mean to be your mother's child?
Oh, goodness gracious. That's not like the deep end. You just threw me right into the Atlantic Ocean. Goodness. What does it mean to be my mother's child? I've seen my mom go through a lot. Like, if anything, it means that I've learned to make a way where there is no way.
Yes, absolutely. I love that answer. Your mom would appreciate that too.
Yes, she would. Don't tell her I said that, even though she's in another room.
All right. What was it like growing up as Ellen Bennett, and how does where you're from and those experiences shape you as an author and the stories you tell?
Oh gosh. I would say I was kind of a loner, but like I kind of grew up in the part of town that you kind of roll up your windows when you're driving past. So I had to spend a lot of time indoors. So I had a lot of time to like watch TV, watch these weird television shows like War of the Worlds and Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. I
Oh
had a
wow.
lot of time to imagine and make up like my own stories about stuff. Um
Nah.
and just kind of like I used to watch like Babysitter's Club, well read the Babysitter's Club, and there was like a HBO TV show. I used to watch that.
Mhm.
I used to read lots of different books and they were not always very diverse. So
Yeah.
like I would put myself in there,
Mhm.
self
Yeah.
insert. That's how a lot of people learn how to write, they call that Mary Sue these days. But that was how I kind of learned to start telling stories.
Nice. Yeah, I can definitely relate to growing up in the part of town where you gotta, you know, you really can't let your kids outside without, necessarily watching to make sure like somebody's in the neighborhood watching out for them or something like that, or either you're out there. Do you think it's important for Black queer writers to have Black editors or Black queer editors to edit their stories? Why or why not?
Yes. Oh my gosh. It is so important. Especially if your characters, and I'm probably going to use a non PC word, but I'm going to use it anyway, especially if your
That's
characters use blackisms, or if your characters
true.
use,
Autism is, I don't know if that's non-PC.
I don't
Hmm.
know if it's not PC, but I just thought I would cover myself. But if your characters use blackisms, I think that you find that you'll have a lot of less editor notes asking you, well, what's this? What does this mean? Or maybe you could have said this a little bit differently. No, I said what I said. So
Yeah,
it's crucial that you have someone who understands what it is that you are trying to say, keeping it in your voice so that it doesn't dilute your voice or it doesn't dilute your characters into
absolutely.
something that doesn't really sound like it's on the mark. Not that there's any particular standard to uphold, but you want to make sure
The
that
case is there.
that you want to make sure that these characters that you take so much care in crafting come off the way that they should come off.
Absolutely. I agree. Do you have a black editor or a black queer editor?
I'm looking at one right now, to be honest, because I have a book that I'm writing. I don't want to give away spoilers, but there is a very particular plot point, and I kind of want to see how it lands with a black editor to see
Mm-hmm.
if she picks up what it is that I'm trying to get across. Because I have characters that are involved in the world of Formula One racing, which
Mm-hmm.
is it's
Mm-hmm.
it's something that it's unheard of. Like they even have like the Formula One Academy where they have the young female racers.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are still white, and
Yeah.
you have like the only One racer in history who's black is Lewis Hamilton. So this is like uncharted territory. Um
Okay. I don't know very
s-
much about that, but
I've
I'm looking
I've
forward
become obsessed like over the past couple of months. It's very embarrassing.
to it. I love that you go into deep dives when you're writing your stories, like you did with Corked.
Yeah, every story, like I was reading something or I was looking at something in which I think it was Quinta was talking about how she was ready to stop mining her life and going into like different experiences, things that she hadn't seen and experienced before. And I kind of took that to heart. I was like, that actually sounds like a good idea. So I was like, instead of mining things from my life, my experiences, I want to start to explore things that I know nothing about. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, I mean, I'm a bit of a research geek, so like researching things is half the fun. Like with
Yeah.
Bespoke, I had to research tailoring. With Quarked, I had to research what it's like to taste these different wine notes, what sommeliers do at the table, like how everything works. Like I've done MMA stuff too, so I had to research like holds and punches and how Muay Thai fighters stand as opposed to how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighters stand. And with this new one, had to just plunge into the world of Formula One racing. And I've also had to, even though I used to play poker 20 years ago, I forgot like all the rules. So I had to look into that. Like I like doing all of that stuff.
That's
Just because I want to, as much as possible, like give readers an authentic experience and take you right into the character's brain and at least
yes.
make it sound like it's realistic, even if you're gonna, like mess with some details to make the story work. Like you want it to be as authentic as possible, and I love making things as authentic as possible, and you can only do that by research and listening and watching the people who do what it is that you want to depict in your story. So I love doing that stuff.
Nice. Now, are you a wine drinker now? Are you
Yes.
into it?
Hmm.
Awesome.
I like it.
All right. Black hair. It seems living in America, every Black woman has a story about her hair. You chose to write It's Just Hair in 2021 about your hair journey. I love how candid you were with the piece and the humor you dispersed throughout it. I could just connect to it. I related to it in a lot of ways. You wrote, as I grew out my big chop, it took on many iterations of hue, shape, and length. I changed partners, my hair grew, grays, which used to camouflage well as highlights, became more visible and disrespectful as fuck. Just a bunch of hating ass gray hairs popping up for no reason other than to be annoying. I felt every bit of that shit, okay? Because these gray hairs up top of my head are cramping my style, okay? I know I'm an auntie. I get it. I get it. You know, I own that. But I'm still fly. I still look good.
That's right.
What internal and or external process did you undergo or experience from the big chop, as you call it?
Oh goodness. Like before then, like I mostly wore like hair pieces and wigs and whatnot. So I went to like the other side of that for a while. Like I was like, I
Hmm.
never want another piece of hair on my head that's not my head, but then I really like braids and I like ponytails and I like this and like that. So like
Hmm.
I've learned to embrace a bit more, that hair is supposed to be fun. It's
Yeah,
supposed to be an expression of you. And you can do, different things with your hair. And, maybe it kind of reflects how you're feeling at the time, but it doesn't always have to. Sometimes it's not that deep.
yeah. It's just the style. It's a look you're going to feel. So LMBennett.com states you write good stories about bad girls. What inspires you to write good stories about bad girls? Would you identify yourself as a bad girl?
No, the women that I write about are sometimes much badder than I am. And I say that because sometimes they say things and they do things that I can only dream of doing. Like Miri, like in Bad Beat, she's kind of sort of a witch with a bee. But then there was hidden vulnerability underneath that I like to explore with her a little bit. So I find that my bad girls that I like to write about, they're very honest.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're even mean, but they're always authentic. And sometimes we think that women who are living in their truth and not shy about telling you who they are and what they think, they're the bad girls. And they're not perfect. They're not trying to be perfect. Sometimes they're wounded. Sometimes they just have a little bit too much going on. Sometimes they don't always do the right thing. And I feel like in fiction, if there's any type of character that's really not allowed to explore what it is to not chase excellence all the time, it's usually the black women. Like
Yeah.
we're always supposed to be, holding it up for everybody else. But I was like, well, what if, you have someone who wants to fall apart or someone who needs to fall apart or someone who wants to blow up the perfect life that they have? Like,
Hmm.
what would it be like to write a character like that? Because I've read, it was like a serial online. It was literally like a sim story. And you had this one character who, like, she just kind of went off the deep end. She was facing middle age. She was with someone that she was just utterly bored by. She met a guy. She just, like, in the nicest way, just blew up her life to be with him,
Hmm.
thinking that it might make her happy, but then like she wasn't happy with him either. So it was something that was like internal to her. And sometimes I just wanted to be like, girl, get it together. But then at the
Yeah.
same time, I couldn't stop reading. She
Yeah.
wasn't likable by any stretch of the imagination and she was aggravating. I couldn't stop reading and I was just like, what would it be like to write a character like that?
Hmm.
And so that's something that I give myself a little bit more freedom to explore, to write characters that are like that and to let them be Black women who are always driven to be the opposite of that.
Hmm. Awesome. Thank you for that. You said you saw yourself completely laid bare in the pages of Roxane Gay's Hunger.
Oh boy.
That's a strong and powerful description. Why did you have such a personal connection while reading this book?
There are some of the things that she talked about when she was like in relationships with other people, and the way that she behaved, the way that she allowed herself to be treated. And I was just like, I remember that. I remember what that feels like. I remember that person. Even though she's talking about herself, I'm like, I remember that. And there were just so many different parallels that I felt like I was meeting a version of myself all over again. I was just like, man, that it really struck me. Like there's this one thing that she says at the end of the book, and it just makes me feel like I'm flayed alive. I start to think about it sometimes and the tears come, where she says, I'm showing you my heart, what's left of it. And I'm like,
Mm,
that hit me right
mm-hmm.
there. And she's just amazing.
She
But
is.
she's, again, like, reading her struggles, even though we did not experience the same thing. I did not experience what she went through, but I could just see a lot of the same things, a lot of the parallels, a lot of those repressed, ugly feelings that she just kind of laid bare in that book. And I just thought it was so powerful.
Yeah. It's always amazing when authors open themselves up, you know. A lot of people
Mhm.
can connect with stories in that way. It makes them way more powerful. What practices do you participate in to continuously sharpen your skills as a writer?
Maybe this is not like popular or anything, but I take craft classes.
Mm-hmm.
I take a lot
So do
of craft classes and I read books, like not just like stuff on marketing, but like basic level stuff, like how to like write sentences at that level, how to craft characters at that level, how to show what a character is thinking or feeling like without saying it, how people who are attracted to each other behave on the pages. And I do all of those things, and sometimes I'll hear or see something and I'll just be like, oh, that is great, and then I'll just start writing it. I took, like, I think probably the most impactful class I ever took was like how to write deep point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just those things that just kind of keeps me sharpening my skills and trying to be, a better and more effective storyteller.
Nice. Good answer. Uh,
Thank you.
your coming out story is a later in life experience, 35. When did you know for a fact, though, that you were sexually attracted to women?
I had to realize that I wasn't attracted to men. Let's just say I got a very vivid picture, and I was looking at the picture and I was just like, bleh, like, ew. And I was just like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of at that point where I have to admit that this just doesn't do it for me, and perhaps it never did, because like every time in my life I've been presented with that, I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
just meh, okay.
Um,
I don't want to be like insulting to anybody, but
no. That's your truth. That is your answer. Do you feel like you were struggling to hide your true self to the world while inside you kind of actually knew who you were?
I don't think so. Like, I don't think that I had that sort of awareness. And
Mm,
to give you an example, I went to like an all girls Catholic school, right? And when I was talking to my mom about going to a Catholic school, she's like, "You don't want to be a lesbian, do you?"
no.
No, mom, of course not. Of course not.
That sounds like something my mom would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like when we were in high school, like especially in senior year, like we were all very affectionate with each other. You know, like hugging and whatnot as you walk through
Yeah.
the hallway, and like some of the underclasses were saying, "Oh, you know, they're lesbians," and I just remember being like so offended by that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it wasn't until like much later on, like even like when we went this one time we were visiting colleges, like we saw these two girls kissing and we were all like, "Oh." But like the funny thing was is that I think the out of the three other girls that I was with, and we were all going, "Ooh," like two of them also turned out to date girls at some point in their life. So,
Yeah.
maybe there was something there that I was trying to repress, but I don't think that I had that kind of awareness to be like, I'm gay and I'm hiding it. I was more or less like, well, I mean, I don't want anyone to think that I'm gay, but at the same time, I'm just not thinking that I have something to hide. I'm just thinking I don't want anybody to think that I'm gay.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until like later on that like I was watching different TV shows and reading fan fiction and whatnot, and like becoming more comfortable with what it would be like to be a queer person and
Hmm.
seeing things that were tantalizing to me. Like, think of this one scene I was watching Roswell, and the girls looked like they were about to kiss, and I was like, all up in the camera, like, wow. So then I think there was when I started to become a little bit more comfortable with it, like in my maybe early 20s, and be like, okay, maybe there is something to this to think about and to explore.
Okay. Um, as a middle school educator, I see a lot of young people struggling with their sexuality and being true to who they are out of fear of family and friends and social rejections. Some to the point of self-harm and or running away. What insights and or advice would you like to share with young people on grappling with their sexuality and identity?
Oh man, that is a very very good question. The only thing that I can think of is that if you feel like you're alone in this, you may not be. And there may be way, way, way more people than you know of who are also grappling with the same thing. Could be
Mm,
the kid that's sitting next to you is going
absolutely.
through the same thing. So as much as you can build a
Love that.
community of people that you can trust and that you can talk to that feels safe to you.
I like that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Um, I don't know if you remember this, but you made a post on IG back in 2020 about P Valley. You put me on the P Valley. Okay. So thank you, thank you.
That's such a good
Um,
show.
oh man. Look, what was your favorite part about the show? And do you know if it's coming back? Because you know they like to cancel our shit. Like, is it over? Because I haven't heard
I think it's
anything.
coming back. I didn't really watch the second season, but my fiance just like burned through all of the episodes, so I kind of sort of know what was happening. Because
Mhm.
as I'm sitting here sometimes at my computer writing, like I'll be listening, and I'm like, "That
Yeah.
sounds interesting. Like, what's that? Who's that character? What did that character do?" But what I like about it is just so authentically black. And like I think that's the first show that I've ever watched with a primarily southern black cast, and I needed subtitles sometimes to understand because I'm black but I'm also from New York. New
Yeah.
Jersey. Like, we
Yeah.
talk a certain way, so I'd be like, "What did that guy say?" But then, like, I kind of thought that it was awesome that they were just kind of like, yeah, it is what it is. They speak how they speak, they express themselves, they are unapologetically themselves. And this is just what it is. And you're just going to have to adjust your ear to how these characters communicate with each other. And I just thought that was so awesome.
Yeah. I love the cultural component of the show, aside from the strippers.
The strippers are excellent. There is one scene, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but again, I was just kind of like, my fiance's like, "Oh my god, they're about to kiss," and I'm like, "Wait, hold on, let me pause this." I was like, "They're about to kiss, they're about to kiss." I was so excited.
Stripping should be a sport.
It is. It should be because they're so athletic. That was
Oh,
another
man.
thing that really like caught me about the show, that the amount of athleticism that goes into it. Like, I never took it into consideration, but there was a scene where they had like they kind of slowed everything down and you could hear the character breathing and like trying to hit all of her marks. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is kind of like gymnastics except with a pole. I just didn't realize how much athleticism was involved in it, but it really it should be a sport.
Right. Um, Listen, I am super excited about hearing you talk about your writing process. Okay. How do the ideas come to you? When they come to you, what is the first thing that you do? And what is the process of completing the story like for you? I'm all ears. I'm in.
All right, well, I tend to write like romance these days. I'm like admittedly not the biggest romance type of person. I'm not like a Hallmark type of person. So my thing is like when I come up with a story, think of the character first that might be having the experience, and then again, because I'm a writer of romance, I just think, what is the most inconvenient thing that could possibly happen to them? And who is the person that could upset their lives in the most significant way? So I kind of take it from there. Like with Bad Beat, I had Jax, and I was just like, well, who could upset Jax? And then I was just like, okay, well, maybe it's a character who is very feminine, who's kind of like a femme fatale, who's just as good or a better a player than she is. With the Christmas Story, I said, well, River wants peace and quiet. What could upset her the most? An opera singer downstairs practicing. That would be terribly inconvenient. And then I was thinking about Bespoke. What would be upsetting to this character of Cal, who likes order and is trying to follow daddy's footsteps? Another stud who she's never been attracted to before, who's a client. That would be awesome to watch her struggle with that. So
Yeah.
I like to torture my characters. Um,
See that.
I like to think about who would cause them the most distress and
Mhm.
possibly encourage them to change and break out of whatever rut it is that they're in. So I kind of go from there. And then like sometimes I have like, specific ideas. Like with Bespoke, I think the idea of a tailor came first, and then I started build the characters around that idea. But sometimes it's the character first.
Yeah. Yeah. I like how you're not afraid to torture your characters and put them in those big situations of conflict.
You
That's
have to,
good.
otherwise how else do they grow?
Yeah. What authors currently inspire you to continue to write?
Oh man. All right. So I don't know if you've read the book Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I could
No.
be mispronouncing her last name, but she wrote this book about this author. She's a white author, and one of her closest frenemies, I should say, is an Asian author who dies. and she stumbles upon her manuscript, and then she decides to take the manuscript and rewrite certain parts of it, and she starts to market herself as if she's an Asian author. And so I was just like, no, this is like the ballsiest thing I think I've ever read in my life. And this character is incredibly unlikable, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing she does is justified, but and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes she even acts a little Karenish, but like
Oh,
sometimes she'll
no.
also say something, then she'll just drop utter truth bombs, and I'm just like, what in the hell? Like, what? Not only like who does this character think she is, but who does this author think she is? She's incredible. And I just
Okay.
I kind of want to model myself after that a little bit more, like someone who is not afraid to just put it all out there, someone who doesn't leave anything on the table. So if anything else, like she inspires me just by that one book, because it's
Yeah.
so incredible, and it's so polarizing. Like you'll find like a bunch of 5-star reviews, and then you'll find 1-star reviews, and the 1-star reviews are like novels of their own telling you everything that they hated about the book. But then to me, I'm just like, that's like probably one of the most incredible books I think I've ever read. And she is awesome. So I would say that, I kind of want to emulate her a little bit. Like
Mhm.
watching her, like just weave the story. Like I went and sat down and started writing. I was like, I'm going to make this character as unlikable as possible.
Uh, that book sounds so interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna definitely add it to my TBR. So thanks for that.
You're welcome. It's
Um,
awesome.
it sounds like it. Um, Tell us about three Black queer authors we should know about and add to our TBR.
Tuesday Harper. Ah,
Yes.
she's incredible. And you have Terry Ronald, who she's come out with a couple of things, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I was reading them, and immediately I was like, oh, these characters are Black. I recognize these characters. She's also an African American author. I was like, these characters
Okay.
are Black. They're unapologetically Black. The way the everything about them. I love her writing. Like it's so punchy in a way
Mm-hmm.
that I wish I could be. And who is the third author? Oh my gosh. I think you have me stumped. Like there's a few of them. Like there's a lot of them that I know specifically, and I'm like, I don't want to leave anybody out. But those are like the first two that came to mind for me immediately. And of course you have Aunt Georgia Lee, who like we're kind of like at opposite ends of the spectrum when we write, because sometimes we just kind of talk to each other on the back end a little bit, and she's
Mm-hmm.
just like, I don't know how you write so short and you put in so much information. And I'm just like, I mean, sometimes I just don't have a lot to say, especially when I'm writing, but she is one of those writers that she'll just like take you on a trip.
Okay.
And the way that she has her characters like go through things, the situations that she puts them in, the way that she has them express themselves, it's just incredible.
All right, I'm there. I'll have to check out Aunt Georgia Lee. All right, thank you. All right, so tell us about your latest book, Pit Stop. It's coming out in
Oh
November.
goodness.
Coming out,
Yes.
yeah.
This is
Uh,
the proof copy of it.
yeah,
Hey, yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you. It's
And
in editing. Oh boy. I really love enemies to lovers. Sometimes there's just something about it that is just like so raw, and figured that like I wrote people who were truly enemies in Bad Beat, but I felt like I could go deeper than that. So the characters that I wrote in Pit Stop knew each other as teenagers, and they got into a lot of trouble together as teenagers. And they came up through the circuits together, and then there was a really bad accident that happened, and they weren't friends anymore. And
Yeah.
now they are teammates on the same team. And I was just like, there's a lot of pain that I could explore because I like torturing characters again. There's just a lot of pain and resentment and lots of things that I could put the characters through and also find a way for them to grow. And there's one character in particular, as soon as you meet her, you're gonna hate her. She undergoes like the greatest transformation I think I've ever put a character through, and I found myself cheering for her, even though I was writing her. Found myself cheering for her in the end. So
Oh,
what you can expect lots of heavy sexual tension. You can
yeah.
expect lots of drama, lots of growth, lots of action, just
Yeah.
lots of racing action on the page.
Sounds good.
It's just one of those books that I'm very excited about it, and when I tell people about it, even people who don't read romance, they're just like that actually sounds good. So I hope that everybody likes it as much as I do.
Yeah. Awesome. You have an upcoming author meet happening next month in August.
Yes.
You want to tell us about that and invite folks to come out and join you?
Yes. I am doing an author panel, Price of Passion with Queer Women of Color, which is a site that everybody should know about. I think that a lot of people, when they talk about queer books in particular, they have a specific type of author and type of reader in mind, but there are a lot of us that exist, and we do write about characters of color, not just Black people. We have Asian people, we have Latin people, we have people who are Latin and Black, and we have all of these different types of diverse female characters. And I'm going to be sitting on a panel, and we're going to be talking about our Black books and our characters,
Mhm.
and just answering lots of questions and doing like little readings from our different projects that come out, and it's just going to be awesome, and I think everybody should uh, be there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's on August 17th. Don't ask me
August
to tell you
7th.
what time it is, but it's on August 17th.
Is it virtual or in person or
Oh,
both?
it's virtual. It's virtual.
Hey, all right.
Yep. You
All
just
right.
have
Then
to register and you'll be.
okay, awesome. I will log in. Although I do think I have an event that day, but I might still pop on social support. My next question. It's called Build or Fold. Okay. This is a question I ask every guest on Verde Folding Chair. Like all challenges to tearing down systems of oppression, there are philosophical differences on how we should approach and accomplish this goal. If there's one thing history has shown us, is that there should be many paths to achieving this goal. Because racism and white supremacy in America is systemic and institutionalized.
Mm-hmm.
It is massive and ever changing. From Diana Nash to Assata Shakur, from Ella Baker to Angela Davis or Malcolm X and Dr. King, Du Bois, Booker, Garvey, they all had the same goal, but they had different paths to achieving it. Like Shirley Chisholm empowered us to do. I'm bringing my folding chair to the table and making space for us. What about you? Are you building your own table or bringing a folding chair, and why?
I like to think that I'm building my own table. And that's just because there's a lot of gatekeeping in publishing. Um, we don't just experience it as Black authors. Other queer women of color authors experience the same thing, and sometimes that means that people, in trying to figure out what it is that audiences might like, they tend to go to the same thing and keep going back to the well. to pick the same sort of thing, or if they do select a diverse voice that they want to champion, then sometimes that's the only voice that they choose to champion. And sometimes we have to, instead of asking for space at these tables, we have to build our own damn tables.
I love that answer. Yes.
So that's what I feel like I'm doing. And I'm also giving space or leaving space for other people to come up and be heard and to speak, because there's so many people out there who are waiting to hear us. So I gotta build that table.
And thank you for doing that. It's like how they recycle the same actors and actresses over and over when there's so many talented people out there that are struggling to get in and that they don't even consider, you know. All right, Rainbow Peeps and Friends. All right, so we have reached the conclusion of our time here today. I'm your host, Verde Arzu, sitting down with our special guest, the wildly talented author, L.M Bennett. Be sure to visit lmbennett.com and pre-order Hit Stop. It's out this November. You can keep up with her daily by following on IG and Threads at author L.M Bennett. L.M Bennett, it has been an absolute pleasure having you at the table with me today. I appreciate your time. I've learned so much, and thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciated that. This was a very fun interview.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now, y'all ain't think we was getting up from this table without tapping in today. And guess what? I'm going to keep it short and sweet. You got some homework. Yes, I know. It's summertime and we're all chilling, all right? I am too. I get it. I'm chilling. I'm relaxed. Praise be. But ACLU Cal Action released the State of Black Education 2024 California Report Card, and we need to read it before the upcoming school year starts. We all do, including me. It's been sitting on my desk for a month now, and I'm dreading it, but I can't ignore it anymore. It has to be done. So, 70 years after Brown v. Board, how are we doing over here in Cali? Well, the majority of these district leaders, such as superintendents, district personnel, directors, program specialists, principals, vice principals, and teachers are, well, white. So I'm sure our Black students are excelling, okay? But let's just see, okay? To download the report, I want you to go to aclucalaction.org/state -of-black -education -2004 -California report -card /. I'm being funny. You ain't even got to do all that, okay? You can just Google ACLU Cal Action State of Black Education. The report will come right up, okay? And then we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it right here, Verde's folding chair, okay? I don't know when, but we definitely tapping in because teachers are powerful. Rainbow Peeps and Friends, it's time for me to share my positive thought for this episode. Vote. Yes, I actually do mean that, but that is not our positive thought. I just think that going forward from here on out, I'm just going to be shouting out vote because that is the season we're in and it is dire. All right. However, today's quote is brought to us by activist, writer, poet, queer Black woman, Audre Lorde. Lorde said, and the speaking will get easier and easier, and you will find you have fallen in love with your own vision, which you may never have realized you had. And you will lose some friends and lovers and realize you don't miss them. And new ones will find you and cherish you. And at last, you'll know with surprising certainty that only one thing is more frightening than speaking truth, and that is not speaking. Ooh. I found this quote on the Write Yourself Alive IG page, and I just want to thank you all for sharing this quote from Audre Lorde. It spoke to me and Rainbow Peeps and Friends. I hope in some way it speaks to you too. Thank you for joining me this week on Verde's Folding Chair. To stay connected with your girl, join me on IG at _writer_Verde _Arzu, Twitter at X at Verde _Arzu, and or Facebook at the writer Verde Arzu, and I'm also on LinkedIn. You can also find a copy of my book Rainbow, a Black queer novella, and other Rainbow merch on my website verdearzu.com. Rainbow, a Black queer novella, can also be purchased online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as well as independent retailers. I'm out here, y'all. Okay? If you liked what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to write a quick comment, like the post, share this episode with your friends and fam, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Any of these options are free and take up very little of your time, but means the world to me as a Black independent artist. I appreciate you, Rainbow Peeps and Friends. As always, peace, love, and rain.